What's up YouTube, Jeff back again today with a very exciting Samsung video for you guys, and today we're talking about 5 problems for the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and how to solve them. This is not a video to say that the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is a bad phone by any stretch of the imagination, but with any new phone that you get, there are going to be some problems like battery life, slowness here or there that you might want to mitigate, and today we're going to talk about those. Before we get started, I do want to thank my 4-year-old son Jonathan giving us some dinos to hang out in the video. You can see back here we do have the T-Rex and the Triceratops. Always appreciate him. Also, if you guys haven't checked out our written coverage, go over to SamyGuru.com and check out all of the articles that we have there. We are covering Samsung news now full-time. We have a new full-time staff writer whose name is Sumit. He's now writing for us, so we have a lot of content going up on the website. Encourage you to check that out. If you've ever participated in our Mystery Box program, you can also sign up for that. The Galaxy S25 Mystery Box program is now going to be available on the website if you're going to be purchasing Galaxy S25 or Galaxy S25 Ultra. So let's go ahead and get right into it. As usual, I have a Google Keep document here that has all of the various kind of problems that you might encounter with your Galaxy Z Fold 6, and we're going to talk about these one by one. Now, the first one is battery life issues, because I think that's probably the most common problem that people encounter with a new device. And with battery life, of course, there's a couple of obvious things you can do. If you go into the battery menu in settings, you can tune your power saving options, turn off always on display, limit CPU speed, decrease brightness. You can do all of these things, but this really only helps once you turn on power saving. And obviously you're not going to want to be running power saving mode all the time. So this isn't really something that's practical, 24/7. However, there's another option inside the battery settings that I highly recommend trying, which is the background usage limits. There's 2 things to consider here. You can turn on put unused apps to sleep, and this will save you some battery. But you may want to make sure that you go in here and turn this off for apps that you want to receive notifications for in real time. Because if you do toggle this setting to on, it's going to put apps to sleep. And some of them may end up being your social media apps, and that will then delay your real-time notifications, which you're certainly not going to like. So I usually leave this off as long as I'm not having battery life problems. I haven't had any huge ones on the Z Fold 6 yet. But if you start having issues, this is one place where it can save you quite a lot of battery. Now, the other place that you can do this is if you go into 2 other places, go into the apps menu in settings, scroll down and find a particular app, and then you can go into the battery setting and you can choose run unrestricted, optimized, or restricted. Now, optimized is the default, but if you want something to run all the time, like I said before, to make sure you get notifications, you can turn it on unrestricted. I keep Gmail on unrestricted, for instance. And if you want to restrict it further because you notice the app's draining a lot of battery, you can choose the bottom option here, which is restricted. So that's something else you can do. This is on a case-by-case, app-by-app basis, so it's inside the app menu. And then if you go to device care, which is now separate from the battery settings, and scroll down, you can turn your performance profile from standard to light, and this will prioritize battery life and cooling efficiency over processing speed. From day-to-day use, even if you're doing multitasking on the Z Fold 6, you're not going to notice any real decrease in daily performance by turning it to light mode, and you will get a lot better battery life. In fact, this might be the thing you can do that makes the biggest impact on overall battery life on a day-to-day basis. So those are the main things I would recommend. Of course, you can always try using less stuff, but I don't ever recommend that. You paid $2,000 for a flagship phone. You want to use all the features. Just try to find ways to do it that allows you to use those features and then also save some juice on the battery. The next one is the size. So this is a big phone, and if you go into the settings, Samsung does have what's called one-handed mode. If you just search for it in here, you'll see one-handed mode in advanced features. Now what this does, and I'll show you a little preview, is it temporarily scales down the display size for easier control, and this will basically let you swipe and get like a miniature display. I don't personally like this method. It's there, and I want to bring it to your attention for making it more one-handed or making it easier to use. What I use personally instead of one-handed mode, and I encourage you to try it if you want to see how it works. I've actually made a full video on it in the past, and I'll drop it below. But what I use is Samsung's One Hand Operation Plus, which is inside GoodLock. GoodLock is Samsung's suite of customization apps for their Galaxy phones. And if you go in here to One Hand Operation Plus, you can get these left and right handles that allow you to then trigger certain actions using gestures. And you can customize everything about these, the touch width, the size, the sensitivity, the position. And so what I have is if I do a straight right, you see I've got my widget pop up with ChatGPT in my calendar. Diagonal down, I've got my quick settings. diagonal up, I've got my quick launcher for my apps. And then on the right, you can set similar settings. This makes it easier for me because my hand is decently large already. So one-handing it, even when open, isn't impossible. But this makes it easier for me to use it with one hand. And I have absolutely no problems with one-hand operation plus. It really just makes it a breeze to use this device. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can do in here. Like I said, you can go here and play with it. You can do short swipe and long swipe. So particularly, you could have 6 shortcuts on each side, so 12 total, which really gives you the option to customize your one-handed use with the Z Fold 6. You can do things like auto rotate. You know, there's so many options that you can choose from that Samsung has here that can help you with your one-handed. You can actually even enable one-handed mode, the one that I showed you in the settings, by doing a gesture inside of one-hand operation plus. So that's pretty crazy. You could actually use these in tandem. You see it right there, one-handed mode. You could do a quick gesture and it'll automatically go down. In fact, if we set this right here, let's go to the right handle, and I'll try this here. Let's do long swipe, diagonal down, and let me change this to one-handed mode so you guys can see what it looks like. Diagonal down, long swipe. See, turn on one-handed mode, it'll ask you to go to the settings. You have to turn it on, and then you can swipe diagonal down. It's going to put it in one-handed mode. So that really shows you that you can utilize one-handed mode and one-hand operation plus in tandem to make this phone a little bit more manageable. Up next is full screen apps and app resizing. I think when a lot of people get foldables, this is one thing that they're not really quite sure about. So if you go into the display settings on the Galaxy Z Fold 6, you'll see here full screen apps. You can choose for each app if you want full screen, 16:9 and 4:3 aspect ratio. So you can go ahead and choose that for each individual app on an app by app setting. Screen layout and zoom is something that's there for all of them, but continue apps on the cover screen is the other important one. You can choose which apps you want to continue on the cover screen when you close the phone from the main display to the cover display. I usually turn on all of them. Some of them will say that they can't do this and then they have to reload, but I just let it do that on a case-by-case basis. If you also go down to advanced features and go to labs, you'll also see here you can turn on landscape view for portrait apps. This is a very good one, and multi-window for all apps to force the apps to go into multi-window view, even if they don't officially support it. Samsung does a pretty good job of adapting them. So those are some options I definitely recommend enabling that are specific to a foldable device, because you've got these 2 different screen sizes that are interacting as you open and close your Galaxy Z Fold 6. The other thing I wanted to mention really quick before we move on to lag too, is if you have one-handed issues, I do recommend a case as well. It makes it a little bit easier to grip your phone. Let me just spin this around. I have the Binks Aramid fiber case. I actually have 2 of them. This one covers the hinge. This one actually is better for grip because you got this thing to grip onto. They sent me a couple. You guys can see the coloration on this one. It's got a little bit of a colored pattern. It's like green, a little stripe of red on the Aramid fiber. It looks really cool though. I actually really like this. And it does give you an extra bit of grip. That's something that I forgot to mention when we were doing the one-handed section, but that definitely makes it easier to one-hand the phone than if it's just not having any case, it's completely naked. Lag issues. So this is one where, I have no lag on this phone so far, but if you run into any hiccups or you find the phone is not performing to the level that you would like, one thing that I always recommend here is to, 1, go into device care and then go down to auto optimization. Make sure you turn this to auto restart right here to restart when needed or restart on schedule. It will restart it, clear out your cache like while you're sleeping. I have mine set for 3 a.m. on Wednesdays. It's great, works wonders for any lag or hiccups you might experience. The other thing you can do is on an app by app setting, you could go into the cache of an app. So for instance, if something is causing you a problem, you could go in here, go to storage, go to clear cache. This will not clear your data, it'll just clear the cache. Don't clear data because that'll get rid of all your info in the app as well. But if you clear the cache, that'll also free up any hiccups. And then the last thing, which I recommended in a previous video, if you go down to developer options here and scroll down a little bit and find the animation scale, there's 3 options: window animation, transition, and animator duration. These are all set to 1x by default. If you change them to 5.5, this will greatly speed up the appearance of your phone zipping in and out of apps, and it's really helpful. If you've never enabled developer options, I'll drop a link below. I did a quick tutorial on doing that. You access it from within the About Phone menu, go to Software Information, and repeatedly tap on the build number. But I have a link to our website where we covered that, and the previous video where I showed that as well. that's the 3 tips I really recommend if you have any little hiccups with lag. No lag for me so far on this phone, as I said. It's been running like a beast, but that is something that you can do if you ever have any issues. The last thing is camera issues with shutter lag. Samsung phones still have some shutter lag, unfortunately. Samsung is yet to get rid of all the shutter lag on their phones. So what you can do though is if you go into the camera app, go up to settings at the top left corner here, and scroll down, you'll find Camera Assistant, which is a good lock module, but it actually is now embedded inside the stock camera. Tap on the Camera Assistant application, and you can change quite a few options in here. One of the things I definitely recommend you do is turn off auto lens switching, because the Samsung phone does some weird stuff with that. Turn on quick tap shutter, which takes the picture as soon as you touch the shutter, and that makes it a little bit nicer. And if you really want, your pictures to be quite fast, you can also go down here and you see where it says prioritize focus over speed. You can leave this off, and then that will make sure that it's kind of maximizing the speed that it takes to take it. So there's a couple things in here you can play around with. This does help quite a lot with reducing the appearance of that shutter lag if it bothers you. Samsung really still needs to do quite a bit of work there, but there are a lot of things you can tweak in here. I have a full video on this as well that I made when Camera Assistant first got embedded inside the camera last year. So I'll drop that below if you guys are interested. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video on these possible issues you might run into with the Z Fold 6 and how you can go about tackling them. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification icon for future videos like this. Again, definitely check out our website, sammyguru.com, the mystery box program if you guys are interested. Appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.